First and foremost, to the people affected by Hurricane Helene, our hearts are there for you. We want to help you out as much as we can because I've been in natural disasters. Maybe you have too. They are like the most catastrophic thing, not simply just life and limb, but even psychologically speaking as well. And I think in this, with Hurricane Helene, that's probably one of the biggest things, is the psychological implications of what's happening there. And it's on all our minds, especially as a prepper. So we're there for you. Because some people, by the way, even though some people are back to normal because they're like in the outlying areas, we know that the majority of these people are not. It'll take months, if not years, or will never go back to normal again, as some people obviously lost some of their family. But in this video, I want you to stay with us. There's some serious, serious things we're going to discuss. And it's not simply just for the people affected by the hurricane. No, it's for you and me and all of us who are not in that hurricane area, because we need to look at this and we need to understand the implications of what's happened there, because those implications will actually come with us as well. So make sure you stay to the end, because it's about what's coming, and there is stuff coming. Now, I want to talk about some of the there's tons of them, by the way, some of the conspiracy theories. I hate using that term. I don't want to use the air quotes very loosely here. I hate it, because conspiracy theories, in a lot of ways, don't exist. I mean, there are some conspiracy theories, but in reality, we need to always look at all the theories coming in, all information coming in. And of course, people are quick to label, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory, when it very well may have truth to it. So we need to look at some of these first. But I want you to look at this, that you and I mean, maybe some of you were there, and I'm excluding you from this conversation for just a moment. But for you and I, we weren't there. We don't know. We just saw the politically biased news agencies saying this. We saw some other people motivated on YouTube saying this, or on Rumble, etc. And we don't know for sure. We can only get like little pieces. But there's lots of those conspiracy theories. And again, some of these very well may be true. In fact, I bet a lot of them are. But let's talk about a couple of them for just a moment, because that is not the focus of this video. It's not. I'm going to get into the important part about this, but I want to see these conspiracy theories first. For example, Governor Brian Kemp tried to call Biden. Apparently, Biden didn't answer his calls. I'm not sure if it's true or not. Apparently, there was some anti-Republican bias for aid in those areas. They found out some people were Republicans, so they weren't going to help them as much. All the FEMA money was gone because it went to illegal immigrants instead. It's even been claimed that upwards of $1 billion was stolen from FEMA. No helicopters, no rescuing to the people. The death toll was way higher than announced. Have you heard that one as well? And this video is not, and I hope you don't want to get into arguments of what is true and what's not. That's not the important part here, by the way. I know for the people affected by the hurricane it is, and that's why you're back in the conversation now. Because those arguments, those are for other channels. This is Goshen Prepping. It's a prepping channel. And when we see these things happening, we as preppers need to always look at every scenario, especially Hurricane Helene, and decide that, oh, wow, I better take action because look what happened there. And we need to be ready, because that's what this channel is all about. It's all about you and me prepared for what's coming. And I'll say it again. There is something coming. There's a few things coming. And with 100% certainty, by the way. Some things may happen. Some things guaranteed will happen. All right, so here are some things that we can first learn from for Hurricane Helene. This is absolute truth, by the way. Ready? First off, there are almost no gas stations open in certain areas. The ones that were open had incredibly long lines for people trying to get gas. No clean water in some areas. Even more so, the taps weren't even working in some of these areas. And if they were, then there's major sewer contamination in the water, and therefore you can't drink the water anyway. Hundreds, if not thousands, of power lines down. No power, no electricity for people. People cut off from the grocery stores. The grocery stores that were open, not much food left. It's going very quickly. People did not have internet, cut off the internet. Granted, you can't search and stuff for prepping stuff, but you can't connect with your family other places too. They're saying that there's no way certain victims could even be rescued as far as their location goes, and if they did, it was too late. And one thing that is not false, by the way, FEMA announced, oh, by the way, we are out of money. So they may have enough money for the victims of Hurricane Helene, but this is it, guys. They have no more. The government announced that. All right, so let me tell you about something that is absolute true. It's a very true story. Listen to this. This is so important, and I want you to understand what's happening here. I have a friend who is in the martial arts community just like I am, and she, ironically, just recently, like a year ago, I think it was, moved to North Carolina, and she was a prepper, a martial arts prepper just like me. That's great. I remember she had lots of food. She actually had water and water filters and stuff. She even had a generator for these situations. And she probably wasn't like, in my opinion, like a hardcore prepper, but she prepped a lot of stuff. She got there, got a bunch of new friends, new martial arts studio, connect with these people. And guess what her friends told her? You are crazy. Why are you doing it? You don't need, they're going to help us if there's a disaster. Why even bother with that stuff? And in my opinion, she probably got caught up with having her own martial arts studio and started going down that path and said, prepping, forget about it. I think they go hand in hand. That's me. But she used up her preps. Long story short, she didn't start keeping things stockpiled. Instead of rotating, she just used them up. She even got rid of her generator, which kind of surprised me, did that, especially in hurricane area. And Helene hit. And her response was, oh my gosh, why did I get rid of my stuff? Why did I listen to my friends? Why didn't I keep prepping? This is an absolute true story. And it breaks your heart because in this situation, especially, I lived in Florida. I remember the day I moved Florida, I was in the moving truck, my U-Haul truck, whatever it was, leaving the city. I had to deal with hours of traffic from evacuation from people leaving there because of a hurricane. These things happen. It's a hurricane area. You have to deal with that. Just like up here in Michigan, we have to deal with snow, and every part of the country has to deal with your own natural disasters. But obviously, a lot of people lost their homes. Not everyone. Some people had no power. Some people had no water, no food, no communication. Some people had bits and parts of it. But that's why I have this channel. That's what Goshen Prepping is all about. I try to cover all those different facets, not just for my martial arts friend, not just for people living through Hurricane Helene, but anybody listening. It may not even be in the United States, because we see natural disasters popping up all the time, but there are some non-natural disasters that are coming, and we have to be ready. So when I hear about my martial arts friend losing out because she didn't have the things she needed, oh, that's nothing compared to what's coming. Okay, right now they don't have that stuff in North Carolina. We're going to be talking about this countrywide soon. We're going to see some major problems coming. Because even if you just prep for natural disasters, that's great. At least you're prepping, you have some stuff set aside. But having stuff alone is not enough to be a prepper. What are we facing in the next few years? Actually, what are we facing for the next few months? There very well could be some serious problems coming in the next few months. But at the very least, I want you to understand an economic collapse is imminent. Our economy cannot sustain the way it's going right now. It cannot sustain. Simply put, we print and borrow money, all of these things. Trying to do this, if you did this in your house, you would declare bankruptcy. And it's interesting. My daughter won an award for at an art show. Very cool. Very proud of her. And they always have a guest speaker. The guest speaker there this time was an artist who designs furniture. How fun. And she literally sends it off to the companies, and like a year and a half later, she'll start getting paid for royalties. And she said, oh yeah, so I designed the furniture. They'd make a couple of models, see if people like it, and then they'll send it off and import it from Asia. And some person raised their hand and said, why are you importing from Asia? This should be American made. She's like, I don't know, I'm just the designer. But this is what's happening everywhere, that literally we have this outsourcing of jobs. We're not having the money being made here in America by stuff that we make and sell. Practically speaking, that it does happen, but not near as much as it should. And as we print up more and more money, because you know what? We don't have a job. Our government doesn't have a job where we make money anymore because we buy stuff. When you constantly buy stuff and you don't get money coming in for income, it's called bankruptcy. It's called defaulting on our defaulting on our debts. And that is coming. We are going to have an economic collapse. It's unsustainable. How about a grid going down? It is imminent, by the way. It will happen. And people said, how can you say that? Understand that it may be this year, maybe next year, maybe in 11 years. But the grid's not fortified, and eventually a coronal mass ejection from the sun will be large enough that will take down our grid. It will happen. It may be sooner, it may be later. I'm not gambling on later. I'm gambling on sooner because I want to be ready. And that's even if it's just a coronal mass ejection. What if there's a cyber attack or an EMP, et cetera, et cetera? Because understand, in North Carolina, they're dealing with this absolute isolation and not having food and water and electricity and communications. But soon enough, the entire country is going to be North Carolina, metaphorically speaking. At that point, there's not going to be anybody coming to rescue you. And there's going to be no escape either. And then the violence will begin, because it shows, study after study has shown that when all these things happen and there's not going to be any light at the end of the tunnel, violence will kick in. So we need to learn from my martial arts friend and other people who went through this. We don't have to go through this, you and I. We can prepare and be ready. And that's what Goshen prepping is all about. So no matter what happens in this situation, no matter what disaster, we need to prepare. Get food, get water filters, arm yourself, drill and train after you arm yourself so you're ready for this, because time is short, because it's inevitable. Another disaster will happen either locally for you or nationwide. It could be a total collapse. And if that happens, what will you do? Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time.